Okay, for this first assignment, you need to go to Google Classroom and go to Overview of After Effects Lesson 1 and download every single one of these files. So there's 5 of them. Download all of them. Once you download them, go ahead and open up Adobe After Effects and then just go to Composition, New Composition. And then we'll just accept the defaults. Actually, yeah, just click OK for now to whatever settings you have. Go to Project, and you can either go up at the top, you can go to File, Import File, or you can double click right here under Project and maneuver to wherever you downloaded your stuff to. I gotta find my... Ugh, I'm gonna cancel out of this. I'm not finding my folder. Here we go. Okay, so go to wherever you downloaded it to and go ahead and download everything. Click on everything but the PSD file. We're going to download that separately. So the vertical waveform, the pulsating, the dancer, and the Adobe Dance, go ahead and make sure they import as footage and then click open. And then open it up again, and this time we're going to do the PSD file, except for it's very, very important. The PSD file has to be imported as a composition. Click open. Keep it editable layer styles. Click OK. And then go ahead and just click and drag to your timeline down here. Click on the PGW text. Make sure you don't do the file folder, but just the actual composition. Bring it down here. If you notice, all of these are different links. So we're going to go ahead and fix that up really fast. We're going to change the length of our composition. We're going to make it a little over a second. So go to composition, composition settings, and then right here where it says duration, we're going to make it 0, 1, 15. So it's like a second and 15 milliseconds, I guess. I'm not sure. This is like a second. So push OK. And then everything is now even. And then go ahead and let's rearrange them so that they're in the right order. So go make sure dancers are at the top. Adobe Dancers is second. Vertical waveform is third. And you can just click and drag. Pulsating, and then the BGW text. So you should have something that looks like this right now. Okay, we're going to duplicate a couple of the layers. The first one we're going to duplicate is the dancers. So click on dancers and go to layer. I gotta find where it's at. I'll go edit. Here we go, duplicate. And it's going to duplicate the layer. We're going to rename one of them so we can keep them separate. So if you just click on it and click enter, we're going to name it dancers with effect. The other one we're going to duplicate is going to be the vertical waveform, this one right here. So I'm going to click on it, edit, duplicate, and then enter, and then rename it vertical duplicate. Okay, I'm going to work with the dancers first. So you can hide everything but the dancers if you want, or you can keep it all on. It doesn't really matter. I'll just go ahead and hide it for now so you can see it. So I only want to see the two dancers for now. We are going to add a blur. So over here, if you see effects and presets, if you don't have this, you can just go to window and then click the effects and presets and search for radial blur. It should be under right here, radial blur. And I want you to click and drag that to the dancers with effect layer, and then I'm just going to let go with my mouse. Once I do that, I now have the options for the radial blur over here. And I can also expand this layer, go to effects, and I can see that I have added it right here. I'm going to make a couple changes to the blur. I'm going to blur it a lot, so I'm going to change the amount to 130. And I'm going to change the type to zoom. So then when you press this space bar, it'll play it and you kind of see it. Now let's go ahead and make sure the dancers with the effect is underneath the original dancers. So then you have something like this. And I'm just hitting the space bar to stop and start it. Okay, we're going to make it a little bit more brighter too. So I'm going to go back to effects and presets and I'm going to type in exposure. And it's going to be under the color correction folder. Exposure, and then just click and click it onto the dancers with effect. If you want, you can minimize the radial blur option so you only see the exposure options. And then I'm going to change the exposure to 1.6. That's just going to make it a little bit brighter. You notice that it got brighter in the background. Okay, so that takes care of that one. Next, I'm going to work with our vertical things. We have them right here. So if you play them, they kind of get bigger and smaller. I have two of them. So I'm just going to take my first one and I'm going to move it to this edge. I'm going to take the other one and move it. It doesn't matter which one's which as long as you have one on one side, one on the other. I'm also, if you click on each one and then click P, that opens up the position. We want to make sure we have two numbers. This is the x-axis and the y-axis. So this moves it this way. This moves it this way. You want to make sure that the second numbers are the same so that they are even with each other. So I would say maybe something like there. So 236. So I would make, so whatever, just make sure that these ending numbers are the same because that way they're going to be the same horizontally. So then if you play it, they're just kind of randomly playing. Okay, so then if I add everything back and play it so far, I have this. Okay, the last thing I need to do is the title here. So I'm going to take BGW text, I'm going to double click on it and open it up in itself. I still have my original one over here, but now it's just kind of, so you can go back and forth. Click the text tool. Oh, well first it's locked. So first we need to unlock it. So we need to go to layer. So make sure the title here is selected. Go to layer and then go to convert to editable text. Once you do this, you can grab this T and you can type whatever you want in here. I'll just write dance. Just write whatever you want. You can change, in character, you can change the font type, you can change the font color, you can change the font size, all of that stuff to whatever you want. And then we're going to add a couple different effects to this one. So the first one we're going to do is type bubble over here. And it's going to be a zoom bubble. Okay, now also make sure that before we add this effect, so anytime you add an effect, it adds it where your time indicator is located. So we wanted this to be at the very beginning. So make sure this is all the way at 0, or you can physically type in 0 right here. And then I'm just going to click and drag it to title here. And it disappears because when I play it, it comes in like that. And then the second thing I'm going to do a different effect, and this is just going to make it better looking, I guess. It's called a channel blur and sharpen. And then, yeah, make sure once again that your timer is at 0 before we add it, and then go channel blur, and then drag it to the title here and let go. Once you do that, you have some options over here. I'm going to go ahead and minimize my zoom so you can't see anything. All I can see is my channel blur. And I'm going to change the red to 75, the green to 25, the blue to 0, and the alpha to 0. So then if I play it, it not only comes in, but it's a different color too now. If I expand the title here and I go to effects, I can see the zoom that I added and I can see the channel blur. If I expand the zoom, I can keep expanding, and you have these little diamonds. These are your key frames. So this is the beginning and the end. So this is when the zoom bubble will start, and this is when it will be completely finished. So if you wanted to take longer, you would just click and move this diamond, and the effect would take a little bit longer. The same thing with the channel blur. You know, you can change any of the aspects of it, but we're just going to leave it all the same. So now that we're done with that, I'm just going to exit out of that and go back to my original composition. If you ever do something and something messes up, you can always just go to Window, Workspace, and then Reset, and that will help reset everything. Like if some reason your picture disappears or whatever. This is your zoom, so if it's zoomed in too much. So then if I play it, and it takes a little bit at first because you can see this green, that's called its rendering. So once it renders once, then it'll go for sure. Okay, so now that you have that, you're done with that first one. But if you turn in this file, it won't work for me. So anytime you turn in something, you're going to have to render it. So in order to render, and this is going to be, you're going to do this to every document you turn in, okay? You're going to go to Composition, Add to Render Queue, and that's going to open up this render queue right here. This is going to be, where is it saving to? So make sure you always the output to, click on that and save it somewhere so you know. So you might save it to desktop and just name this lesson 1. Okay, click save. So now it's saved as lesson 1. And then I'm just going to click render, and you'll see a little status bar, and then once it's finished, you should be able to go wherever you saved it at. Like I saved it on my desktop, so now I have this MOV file that I can click on and it will play. And then you are going to turn this file into me.